Beautiful. I think we are live. Yay, here we are. Welcome to this week's episode of Lilith's live show. Today is Ascension Q&A. I really look forward to it. Everybody on the recording, please say hi to me. Let me know how you're doing today. I really look forward to this session. We are going to talk about what Ascension really is, right? From the different perspectives, the spiritual, the yogic, shamanic perspective, but also the practical one. We're gonna talk about how you can advance your Ascension journey. And I'm gonna answer the questions that I have already received from you so far, which were really good questions, really interesting ones. I look forward to diving into those topics. And you're also free to ask more questions as we go. And also if you're on the recording, just pop them into the comments and I'll get back to you there and then. Hi, Eilish, how are you doing today? Hi, Angelique, so nice to have you here as well. Let's see who else wants to join us here before we dive in. Do the two of you have any questions that you would like me to answer in this session? If yes, please just pop them into the comments. Hi, Agnieszka, how are you doing? Good, I say let's dive in. So I really want to start with what Ascension is. And while I talk, feel free to pop all of your questions, comments right into the comment section, and I'm going to check the comments regularly. So those of you who come from a Christian background will probably first think about the ascension of Jesus Christ when you hear the word ascension, right? And that ascension is basically when Jesus rose from earth to heaven. And that's a really good metaphor for what we understand as ascension. Also not in religious terms, but in spiritual terms. So ascension is basically our journey of spiritual awakening seen as a vertical path starting below and going upwards. And there are several ways in which we can understand this journey. So beautiful to have so many of you here already. Let me know how you're doing in the comments, please. And just a little warning, my beautiful son, my 4-year-old, is in the other room with a new babysitter, so he might come barging in here at some point. Good, so let's look at the different perspectives, right? The different understandings that we have of this ascension journey. So in yoga, we would describe this ascension journey as the rising of Kundalini energy through the chakras, starting at the root chakra, at the base of the spine, and going all the way up from chakra to chakra until this energy reaches the crown chakra at the top of the head. So that is basically the journey of enlightenment in the yogic philosophy. Now, obviously, what is enlightenment? That's a really good question, right? So we can touch upon that as well. How would you describe enlightenment? I'm guessing there's lots of different definitions for it, but I would really describe it as knowing our true self, right? Our true self as in a spirit, that we are a spirit incarnated in a body. And knowing this true self, not just, like as a distant thought or concept, but actually really experiencing it. So being free of the mind-made mess that we often live in, and free of manifesting what we actually don't want to experience, free of suffering, because we, mistake the impermanent for the permanent, for example. So I would describe enlightenment as a state that we reach while we are still incarnated in our bodies, all while fully experiencing ourselves as spirit. That would be my definition. So yeah, that would basically be the ascension journey from wherever we are at all the way up to enlightenment, that journey through the chakras. Hi Natalia, lovely to have you here as well. If questions pop up about what I'm saying, please also pop them into the comments. Then also we could obviously look at this ascension journey from a scientific perspective, and then we could describe it as the changing of frequencies, of brain frequencies. So we could talk about the change of the collective frequency at the moment that is happening, which is a shift from beta to alpha frequencies, right? So the beta frequencies are those, that when our brains are in beta, we pretty much do not feel that we are a spirit. We're in this very much 3D reality where we're like, okay, we're sort of in survival mode. It's all about the physical reality of the body, and often a lot of stress in the mind. It's pretty much that dimension, right? And then alpha is more a state that we can experience in meditation, where the mind is calmer and we become more aware of other dimensions. And then, of course, there is other frequencies as well. Okay, so that's also an ascension process. We start at beta, then we go to alpha, and then we go to delta, and then to theta. Okay, so delta is a state of deep relaxation, a trance state that we can reach when we do shamanic journeys, where we are very much aware of the other layers of our being and of existence. And then theta would really be the state of complete oneness that we would, that would be our idea of enlightenment, right? And then in medical terms, we could say that we are activating the dormant regions of our brain and using a higher percentage of our brain's capacity during an ascension journey. And we could also describe it as a gradual shift from living mainly in the body and mind and identifying with them to mainly living in the heart and soul and expressing those levels of our being instead. And in shamanic terms, we would say that we ascend by learning shamanic journeying so that we can access higher levels of consciousness in the trance state at will, which we can induce at will. So we basically go from the subconscious of our lizard brain to the limited consciousness of our daily lives to the superconscious levels. And those really correspond to the 3 levels of the shamanic realm. There is the lower realm, the middle world, and the upper world. So basically we get to perceive more of life the more we climb the ascension ladder. Okay, so we shift from perceiving a 3D world to experiencing a 5D world. And a simple, very practical way of putting it would be that we up level, right? We manifest less of what we don't want and more of what we do want. Good, so questions about this? Very quiet there in the comments. Any questions about what I just shared or about your own ascension journey, about your personal experiences that you're going through that you might wonder about? Let me have them in the comments, please. And I have already received some questions from you, and Rachel's question really is fits in right where we are at here, which is, are there any ways that we can help our ascension process, or is it all divinely, individually timed? Now, this touches upon one of the biggest questions of all, right? And that is the question of destiny. So from my experience, I can really say that we all have a destiny, a certain point where we are supposed to arrive at. And the thing is that not all of us do fulfill it, right? So the way I like to imagine this is we come to Earth as a seed containing the potential of a whole beautiful, tall, strong tree with unique leaves and flowers and fruits that no other tree has. But whether we actually become that tree, that is completely up to us. So this is where our free will comes in, right? So we do have this programming, but we don't necessarily need to follow it all the way. So we choose our destiny. And obviously we can also choose to ignore our destiny. And from my understanding, this is part of the reason why we are reborn, because we often fail to fulfill our destiny. So we stay a seedling as opposed to growing into a tree. And then, we can start over in the next life. And that's obviously a very simplified understanding of this topic. But I really want to get back to Rachel's question. And the answer is yes. From my understanding, we can help our ascension process. And no, it is not divinely, individually timed. So from my experience, we always get what we're ready for in life. And when we are ready for something, we actually decide ourselves, although we often take these decisions unconsciously. And of course, everyone and everything else in the universe influences us and we them. So while this is complex and not a straightforward journey of always ascending and never descending in between time, like at least for a step, or how soon or late we finish our ascension, that's mostly up to us. And that pretty much leads us to the next question. How can we accelerate our personal ascension process, and in doing so, helping the process of the collective? Let me just check your comments. It is so exciting, says Anneli. Yeah, this is a really exciting topic. I feel the same way. Alicia asking, how do we get to the stage of manifesting what we want, not what we don't want? Yeah, so that's pretty much the answer is pretty much the ascension journey, right? The more we go up, the more conscious we become, the easier it is for us to see what we're actually doing, what we're thinking, and because that's the first step, right, in manifesting. It's becoming aware of what we're already doing and why we have manifested the life that we're leading right now, and what we have to change if we want to manifest something different, right? So that's pretty much it. The more conscious we become, the easier it gets to see how we get in our own way, and the more straightforward the process of manifesting what we want actually becomes, by consciously letting go of what no longer serves us, and in doing so making space for what we actually want to welcome into our lives. And at least this is what we do with the moon rituals, right, in the apprenticeship. That's why we have the full moon rituals, to let go of what no longer serves, and the new moon rituals to call in what we actually want to experience. So this is pretty much this process of conscious creation, and it gets easier the more we ascend in consciousness. So you're learning shamanic journeying with me. That's pretty much the best way to go about it. Angelique, you're saying, how would someone in survival mode ascend? Is it just a matter of working on self one layer at a time until not in survival anymore? I feel like keep raising my vibration just to go backwards again. That's a really interesting question. Yeah, obviously survival mode is difficult, right, to get out of. And mostly in my experience, it's something that you shouldn't try to get out of yourself. I think that's the biggest problem with it. When we are in survival mode, we are pretty much in this very isolated little world where we're like, okay, I have to do this by myself. But that's very difficult when you're at that state. So yes, it is a matter of going about it layer by layer, step by step, until you're not in that survival mode anymore. But from my experience, if you are in survival mode, then you really need somebody to help you. That's why we're not alone on this planet. So we can have others to help us to raise your vibration. Because what you're describing is this effort of, it's the self-effort of raising your vibration and, making a step upwards. But then you come back to your set point. And that's because we have a certain emotional set point that we come back to that is ingrained from childhood. So if we want to change that, we have to work with deep healing practices, and it's quite difficult to facilitate those for ourselves. So best to get help from a healer. That would be my advice. Or a therapist even. Sometimes, that's the best way to go about. Good. So I hope this was helpful. So yeah, we're talking about accelerating our personal ascension process. How does that work, right? And before we dive into that, I want to come back to Patty's question, which is, what about those people on Earth who are not a tiny bit spiritual and are not connected at all? With the energy coming in and the positive energy of the spiritual people, will the energy coming in and the positive energy of the spiritual people awaken them, also if they don't want to? And what happens to them if they don't want to shift? Or will they be shifted unconsciously? So I've already touched a little bit upon that in what I said before. We are all connected, right? So there is nobody who's not connected. We are one web of life, so we all influence each other. So even though somebody might not know they are connected, might not be conscious of it, they still are connected, and that means that they are influenced by the ascension processes of everybody else. There is actually even science to back this up now, and it's called the Maharishi effect. And it describes how one person anchored in a higher frequency can positively influence up to 750,000 other people. How incredible is that? And when you look at history and the big events, for good or evil, they were all started by a small group of people, right? There are always a few leaders who are just a few steps ahead in the ascension process of everybody else, and they set the tone, and everybody else falls in step sooner or later. But coming back to the second part of your question, Patty, one reason for death is the inability to keep ascending. So we die and we get a new chance in our next life, right? So no, nobody escapes the ascension process, which is obviously a good thing, because it is it's a good process, right? Feels good to ascend. Feels good to be aware of more, because it is reality for everybody, whether we're aware of it or not. Okay, so let's go back to how we ascend once we choose to do it consciously. So the first step, which those at the beginning of the spiritual journey often struggle with a lot, I know I did, is taking full responsibility for our own life experience. So that does not mean that the bad things that happen around us are our fault, like ever. But what it means is that we choose how to react to what happens in our life. We choose what we give our attention to, right? We choose what we eat. We choose the words that we use, the people that we spend time with, what companies we buy from, how we spend our time, and how we react to what happens in life. So reclaiming our power, taking responsibility, that is the first step. Coming out of victim mode. That's really, really important, because if you don't, it's difficult to help yourself because you're disempowered, right? You need to first say, okay, yes, I have this power to change my life. I am responsible for my life, and I can do this. And obviously that can be hard because, like we said before, old habits and emotional set points can be hard to shake. And this is where I can really recommend inner child healing. I've been facilitating inner child healings ever since I started my work as a shaman 5 years ago, and it's really one of the things that shifts my clients in the most profound ways, right? Because we can't really lead an empowered life if part of ourselves is stuck in child mode, where we feel like somebody else is somehow responsible for us, right? So this process where we shift from childhood to adulthood, this adolescence, that's such an important part of our ascension process. But because it is not facilitated consciously in our communities anymore, there's no big initiation processes or anything like that anymore. We often fail to make that step completely, and then part of us is just stuck as a child, obviously also because of traumas and wounds that we have gone through. So I can really, really recommend Inner Child Healing. If you don't have my Inner Child Healing series yet, those are 8 sessions that cover the most common inner child wounds, from reestablishing trust in yourself and in life to finding your purpose, creating abundance, feeling safe, it's all in there. So I have given you the link in the description. So check it out if you want to. Natalia is sharing, I know what you mean. I felt the same when on the burnout. One step in front, two back. Then having therapists, psychologists, then soul path therapists, and going to women's circles and so on. That helped me a lot. Yep. I'm afraid I would not be able to do it completely by myself. I had way too many problems to fix them all by myself. Yeah, that's really the way. Yeah. So you were replying to Angelique, and that is really good advice. Definitely, absolutely get help. Good. So once we have managed to take full responsibility for our own life and our own, our own experience of life, then we are ready for step 2. And step 2 is to gather powerful tools to set intentions and then manifest them through a combination of spiritual practice and aligned action, right? That's really it. So you need an intention. What is your ascension intention, right? What is your ascension goal? And once you have that, then use a combination of a spiritual practice or more spiritual practices and aligned action, and you will definitely get there. So you can simply choose a suitable ascension practice. What could that be, for example? Like, could be a heart opening practice, a mind calming practice to start with. It could be a body relaxation practice, letting go of tension practice, chakra balancing practice, right? There's lots of options, affirmation practices. And then do it every morning and evening and dedicate it to your ascension goal, right? Always state that intention, make that intention conscious again. And that discipline and aligned effort will definitely get you there. So here's what I can offer you if you want to consciously follow that ascension path. So if you need more accountability, powerful practices, and a step-by-step ascension process clearly laid out for you, you can join us in the transformation, which is my 3 months deep dive into yourself, where you learn shamanic journeying, the only practice that you will ever need to reach your ascension goals again and again. Because there's always a next level, right? And all you really need for it is to be able to access higher consciousness. So you have the link in the description where you can check that out. Obviously, for those of you who are in the apprenticeship with me, you have the transformation included as the first part of the training. Good. What I also can offer as a second option, if you want to do a more do-it-yourself kind of training, my chakra healing series is at the moment being released. It was always part of the transformation before, and now you can buy it separately. So that's a complete series that is basically a chakra by chakra ascension process, clearly laid out for you step by step. So here you get deep healing sessions for each chakra and short and sweet daily practices for each chakra to keep balancing the chakras and ground yourself in every step of that up-leveling process. So you can either complete that in 7 weeks or in 7 months if you want to really go very deep, right? So you go chakra by chakra. That's really an incredible series. Sometimes when I do the practice, I can't believe myself what came out of me there. That was clearly all channeled. So it's not available for purchase yet separately, but I can already enroll you in it manually. So if you want it, just send me a PM. Good, let's just check the comments. Lisa, hi. Lisa, can you share more about this so I can help you better? That would be amazing. Good, so I've received a really cool question from Elena. And that is the last one that I have received so far. So if you have any other questions for me concerning your ascension process, just pop them into the comments now while I talk so I can answer them when I'm done talking about Elena's question, which was, I would like to know how to better deal with emotions that come up while doing inner work, healing. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. So this is obviously connected to ascension, since one of the super important ascension processes is to calm our minds. and live from the heart instead. And when we heal, we often need to first activate our heart space again because it has been numbed from past wounds, right? So we need to first activate it so we can really feel it again. And from there, we can process the traumas and linked emotions from the past. And when we first start to do that, that can absolutely be overwhelming when we can first feel all that much again. So my tip, Elena, is to do it just like I teach you in the transformation and the apprenticeship, right? So as a first step, learn how to calm your mind, which is what you practice in week 1 and 2. As a second step, start to open your heart, which is what you practice in week 2 and 3. And as a third step, start with the actual healing processes, which we only start in week 6, right? So if you feel that you haven't given each of these steps full credit yet, if you haven't practiced enough, if that foundation isn't strong enough yet, then I suggest you go back to those practices from week 1 to 3 to strengthen that foundation before you dive deeper into the actual healing processes. And another great tool, Elena, for when you're already in the middle of emotional overwhelm is Ujjayi Pranayama. It's a yogic breathing practice that soothes the nervous system. And I share that with you in week 5. So if you want me to give you access to it sooner, then let me know and I can do that. I hope this was helpful, Elena. So, any other questions for me at this point? So you still have time to type in your questions. And while you do, I want to share one last tip that Annelie has reminded me about. So there is a beautiful spiritual practice of asking questions that you ask the universe, and they're not meant to deliver a straight answer to you, but rather create an opening inside of yourself, a space for growth. And one of these questions is, how does it get any better than this? It's a question from Gary Douglas, who is the founder of Access Consciousness. And the singer Fia has created it into, sorry. I was drinking coconut water. It made my throat scratch. So Fia has created this question into a beautiful song. I think it's called The Magic Question. So what I can really recommend is that you listen to that song and or create post-it reminders of that question in your house and just ask it again and again throughout the day. Whether something good happens or whether something bad happens, just ask as a reaction to that, how does it get any better than this, right? And then open yourself up to the mystery and the wonder of life. Good, not seeing any new questions here. Beauties, any last minute questions? I need to plug in my computer. Obviously, you can still ask questions. Later on, just pop them below in the comments and I will get back to you there and then, especially for all those of you who are on the recording. And for your info, there's no session next Saturday in here, as I will be on holiday. I actually get 4 whole days to myself. So I don't know what I'm going to do or where I'm going to go, but I'm going to go. Obviously, my apprentices and transformation members, your Zoom session on Saturday is taking place as usually, and it's held by Barbie this time, which is going to be beautiful for everybody. Okay, so no more questions so far. So this means we're done for now, and I'm sending you lots and lots of love, and I look forward to more questions in the comments. Happy ascending, everybody. Mwah. Bye-bye.